Good. Let me just get the standings up. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Dr. Hockey Podcast. I'm Dr. Jay Calvert, and I am here today with the most amazing Red Wings fan of all time. Voted number one in many states, not all of them, but by many states, Jason Berkeley. How are you doing?
There was a vote?
There was a vote and you won, just like in Las Vegas where it says voted best buffet in Vegas.
It's the Rio, isn't it?
It is the Rio. And because of that, you were voted the best Red Wings fan in many states, but not all.
So I'm the Rio of Red Wings fans, is that what you're saying?
You're the Rio buffet of Red Wings fans.
Okay.
Even better. Good to see you. How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little bit shocked at some of the alterations of the standings in the NHL.
Before we get to that, I'm gonna just divert the conversation real quick to the Super Bowl, real quick.
Okay.
Because we're talking about, Steele and I and Shub, we're talking about some of the bets that, the gimmick bets that are going on. And we're interested to see if any of these bets would go on for the NHL Finals. But did you hear about the guy that bet $250 on the Rams to only score 3 points? The odds were 250 to 1, he won 100 grand.
That's 400 to 1.
No, that would be, it was 400 to 1. He won $100,000.
Not bad.
Now, okay, so it'd be interesting to see some kind of gimmick bets like that for the NHL Finals. Or, because the problem is it's only one game for the Super Bowl. Obviously, there's potentially 7 games for the NHL Finals, but it'd be fun to kind of have gimmick bets like that.
Well, I think you can bet on anything in Vegas.
You obviously
so
could.
I wonder where you would find a listing of those gimmick bets, because that would be pretty cool.
But come the Finals, we should look into those and bet some
I
of
think
those.
we should place some of those bets,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
My wife almost put money on Edelman to be the MVP, because they were talking about it before.
Almost doesn't pay the bills.
I know it doesn't at all, and we didn't win that.
Well,
Although I did
obviously.
take $250 from the Cosmopolitan this weekend, I felt pretty good about that.
You stole it, or you like?
No, I won it.
Oh,
with
okay.
Blackjack.
I don't know if you walked by and just grabbed a couple chips and kept walking. or
They might
something.
as well have, but they wouldn't have noticed. But
Good for you.
the crazy blackjack that I played, listen to this. It's called some free bet blackjack.
Right.
So you get a free bet if you double down or you split. They'll give you the bet without having to put up your chips. It's a free bet.
Okay.
But dealer push on 22.
On 22.
So if the dealer busts
That's weird.
22, it's a push. They don't win, but they push everybody and the hand is over. So even if you split, double down, whatever, and they bust, a 22, it's a push.
That's the odds of the game now just changed. I have to kind of think about that.
Well, I had to
Right.
think about it too, and I was able to do something with it, but it wasn't easy. It was
Okay.
hard. I think it was a little bit harder. I'm sure that the odds changed in their favor. I'm sure of it.
Of course, they wouldn't do anything to put the odds in
Oh,
your
why would
favor.
they do that? That doesn't make any sense.
That's how they get $3.99 steak and eggs.
My friend lost $3,500, and I told him that he was in need of a visit to a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, that's
to spend that
ridiculous.
much at the Cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
So anyway, he
Do you realize how much fun you could have had at Sapphires with that kind of money?
3,500?
Yes.
3,500?
They get you in the door, but,
Oh, I mean,
you know, but still.
what Sapphires?
Oh,
What
yeah,
is that?
play dumb, sure.
I don't know what Sapphires.
Yeah, of course, okay.
It's probably a strip club.
Probably, you think so?
I don't know. The only one I know of is, because I'm a rhinoplasty surgeon,
Yeah.
is the Spearman Rhino. It's the only one I know.
Spearman Rhino.
And mostly because I can't say it because of hip hop.
Okay, yes.
Anyway, let's move on. The standings have been pretty crazy lately, and I have watched some teams rise up very high that I did
Yes.
not expect, and I've seen some really dump in a very bad way.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Who's the biggest surprise rising team that you saw? Because I know who I think it is. Let me see who you think it is. Let's see if we think alike.
Well, I think it's the Islanders.
Yes, of
The
course.
Islanders are the
That's it.
surprise.
It was the story of the
winner.
year so far.
Absolutely, they are definitely going. Not only are they going into the playoffs, but they're going in strong.
Okay, so this brings up 2 questions that I have. Number 1, is it because of Trotz? Which I think it is. Number 2, what does this say about John Tavares?
Well,
Does it say that he, and again, I'm not trying to
Okay.
put all of it on him, but when you're the captain of a team, and you put the team on your back, win or lose, if you leave and the team now plays better than ever, does that say that,
Colorado Avalanche.
well,
Duchesne, that's just what I was
That's
gonna
right.
say.
Yeah.
okay,
Totally.
but wait, but but I would not compare Colorado to New England, to the Islanders. Colorado has one good line, and that those guys get injured, or one of those guys gets injured, they're done. The Islanders have a much more balanced team. But my question is, what does that say about one of the best players in hockey? Was it a chemistry thing that was the problem when he was there? Was it something else about it? If he had played under Trotz, would they have been more unstoppable than they are now? There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I don't know if we can even answer, but it does say something. I don't know what, but it says something.
If you keep talking, I won't be able to answer that.
But you say something then.
All right, this is what.
Yes, okay.
If you were to look at the Islanders last year to this year, there's only one player difference of significance, obviously.
Right.
Tavares left the team. I don't think it was a Tavares problem. I think it was a coaching problem and a GM problem.
Right.
And not that they made big moves and got big name players, but they did make one big move. They made Anders Lee captain after losing John Tavares. I think also last year with the coaching issues that they had, you didn't really have the leadership that you needed to dampen the questions around Tavares leaving. And finally, when he goes, it opens things up. And yes, bringing Trotz in is the reason why the Islanders are doing really well.
Right, but again, I wonder, and we'll never know, but I wonder if Tavares had stayed, re-signed with the Islanders, and Trotz came in, if they'd still be playing this well. I think they would. That's my feeling.
They would, as long as Tavares owned his position on the Islanders. He was always a foot out the door. That was the biggest problem. He was a foot out the door for 2 years, as far as I can tell. And so with a foot out the door, with a player of that level, you're not gonna be able to get anybody to sign up. I mean, that's the issue. You're
Right.
really looking at, not just a chemistry problem, but it's like a cancer in the locker room.
Well, you also
Like,
don't get the
is he
same
leaving?
kind
Is
of,
he staying? Is he leaving? Is he staying? Should we tighten up? Should we, you don't know what's coming.
you also don't
It's
get the
not
same kind of collusion in the NHL that you get like in the NBA, where one of their friends is on one team and it says, okay, guys, come over here, let's win a championship here, let's go over here. You don't do that in the NHL, that isn't how it works.
good. They can't do it,
They
really.
can't do, well,
Yeah,
they
it's too
can,
hard.
but the guys have to take less money, it's a whole thing, but speaking of money, we'll change gears here a little bit, did you see, I'm sure you know, we actually talked about it, let me rephrase it. Can you believe how much Austin Matthews got in his new contract for 5 years? Annual against the cap is about 11.3 million, I think, in his year for 5 years. So, now I'm gonna present something to you here now, so, okay. He's got 11.3 per year for the next 5 years.
That's huge.
Okay, it's huge. Tavares has about 11 even for the next 4 years, whatever it is.
Huge.
Okay, so 2 players on that team. The next 2 highest paid players are on the Blackhawks, Taves and Kane, and look where they are right now.
Well, I know, this is the
Because
problem
those,
with the NHL.
well, okay, the top player paid in the NHL, as we obviously know, is Connor McDavid. About 12 million a year or so, 12 plus. But no one even come close to him on that team otherwise. But those 2 guys eat up how much of that salary cap? It's
Well, this
huge.
is the same thing that happened with the
And
Ducks.
that's why Chicago is in the basement, because those guys, that's over $20 million between those 2 guys on the Blackhawks. You have no room for anyone else coming up. The Maple Leafs window, I think, went from 5 years to win a cup to about 3 years with that re-signing, because of that reason. Because you can't
Sean,
keep guys
you-
like Marner, Gardner, you can't keep all these guys happy, Kadri, you can't keep all these guys happy
Nope. No way.
with those 2 stars signed like that for 4 or 5 years.
What is Corey Perry and Getzlaff's salaries?
Another example, there you go.
Yeah, I
Boom.
mean, this is.
That's the
this
new
is
NHL.
This is the death knell
It's
of
the
the team.
death nail of a team.
It is.
And it's now calling into question whether it's worth signing guys like that, but if you don't, another team will. How about one guy with that salary and the rest of them in line?
Perry is,
Hang on, let's get Perry's salary is what, 12?
You kidding me?
No, you won't even believe this. I mean, Getzlaff and Perry together, I think, are like somewhere close to 23 million between the 2 of them, of the cap.
Wow.
I mean, and
this year he's actually only getting
this year, yeah, he may have dropped.
Because it
down.
drops off.
8.5
This year.
plus bonuses, up to 9.
And then Getzlaff is what?
In the last 2 years, it was up to 10.
In the last 2 years, it was up to 10 million,
Mhm.
right?
And
What-
these last 2 years, actually it's remaining the same.
Well, and that's the thing, is that you.
But it's still the same point.
Right, so it's the same
Yeah.
point as Taves and Kane, it's the same
Right.
point as what's gonna happen
And
here.
2 out of those 3 teams are basically in the basement of their respective division.
Absolutely.
This is what happens in the NHL nowadays.
And the Kings.
And the Kings. Kopitar's, you know, I don't think he's making that much. but compared to-
Skating Stiletto says you have people in Nashville taking pay cuts actually to keep the court together.
Now,
That's
that's an
right,
interesting
okay.
thing. Okay, so that's,
Is that-
something that's
so-
Steele and Shab and I were
Okay,
talking
can I,
about.
hey,
Yeah, go ahead.
Shop, can you just read that off again from, our, skating and stilettos?
She says then you have guys.
This is,
Skating Stiletto
This is
says
Sean.
you have guys on Nashville taking pay cuts to keep the court together, so they're doing things right, obviously.
And that was something, that was something that we were talking about before the podcast, is you really don't see it that often. It'd be great to have that. They haven't won anything yet, but their window went from probably 3 to 5 years to up to 7 years. Now, they do have an aging goalie in Rene, but still, this is a type of situation where you have guys thinking about winning a cup. Now, look at the other side of it. Some of the guys on Chicago would say, we won 3 cups already, I won my cups, my legacy's cemented. All right, fine, let's have time to make some money now.
right, I mean, there is that mentality, it's like, I
Yeah.
wanna get my cash, I wanna get set up for the rest of my life, so I can do whatever I want, when I wanna do it. And, you know, that's big money, those kind of numbers that they're getting paid, even though, you know, and when we've had Pat Brisson in here to tell us about what happens to those huge numbers, they do get whittled down pretty significantly.
Sure.
Because of things like escrow and things like
Bonuses,
and there's ways that all of a sudden a $9 million a year salary puts, you know, $3.6 million into the player's pocket. Still a lot of money. $3.6 million into your pocket's a ton of money.
It's a lot of Xbox playing for me if I was at home all day.
And that could happen for you. I heard Cedars was thinking about a $9 million extension for you.
Yeah, I don't
Oh
think
wait,
so.
that wasn't you actually.
it
It must have
wasn't
been,
me.
it must have been somebody else.
Yes, it
I
was
think it was probably
somebody
somebody who
else.
plays professional sports, because they don't pay doctors.
Yeah, I just
like
got sweaty for a couple of 2 seconds.
That was good though, right?
Well, I thought you knew something I didn't.
I didn't, I was making a joke, this is just a joke.
You're
But,
not a nice man.
sorry, I just, you know, I have to kinda keep it fresh. So the, yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that these guys do see those contracts and they think like, no, I've got it made. And, I mean, you can see some of these trades happen and all of a sudden the guys can barely play hockey. They get
Yeah.
they get these amazing
injured,
salaries,
something
they go
happens.
somewhere else and all of a sudden it's like they need to go to the
Corey Perry's
AHL.
not playing.
Well, Corey did well on his contract. I have to give, you know, Corey Perry, when he won the Hart Trophy, okay, this is a guy who, I mean, his name was Scory Perry because he did score a bulk of the goals after after sort of the Korea era. It was Perry and Solani. And so Perry and Getzlaff and Solani, up till probably 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there, he was killing it, you know. And then obviously as time went on, you know, less and less. In the last 3 years, I just thought Perry, you know, he was coming out and getting 12 goals a season, maybe, you know, 20 assists. So I don't know where he's going to go at this point, and I don't know where Getzlaff's going to go. But you can be sure that Tays and Kane are having the same discussions, that Kopitar and Brown are having the same discussion, and this year isn't the expansion, but next year is the expansion. So some of these guys are gonna be left unprotected if they're still playing, you know, at the end of next year, who knows? But with the Seattle expansion, you're gonna have some opportunity to move some of these high cap hit players off onto a team that is coming out of nowhere, and I think that's something to think about.
And some of those guys be kind of either at or past their prime. You know,
A
that's,
lot they're all past their prime at this
Well,
point.
but you know what I mean,
The guys
it's-
we've been naming are past their prime.
yeah.
They're getting the money that was anteed up to keep them there, to get cups or to get
Sure.
playoff runs or whatever. Now they're on the tail end of that. That's part of the big number you get to be that guy at that age.
But the difference with Toronto is, these two guys are young, they have not won a cup, either one of them has, and they still have a way to go. So,
True.
could this be a situation where they end up on the team, and by the end of their contract, it's up, the team's doing nothing?
Matthews is quite young.
Right, right.
Tavares is what, 29 years old?
29 years old,
And Matthews is 22?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, this is where I think it is a little bit different, because these extensions were not for 10 years, correct?
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, so that's much better, that's smarter. And on top of that, one thing I'd be very interested, do they have no trade clauses in those contracts? do we know? Does anybody know? Does anybody on our Instagram know? Does anybody know if Tavares and Matthews had no trade? Because the no trade clause in Corey Perry's contract
Yeah.
has been very, very key in keeping him there, because they would have moved him, I'm sure, to get room for salary.
How about Parise and Suter?
Yeah,
There's another one in Minnesota. and they're
Yeah, Parise and
floundering.
Suter, floundering, absolutely.
Fifth place, but you know what, honestly, it's just one of those, this is the dark side of the cap, if you will, because
I am not a fan of the cap.
it's,
by the way.
no,
I want
I'm
to
not
go
either.
on record.
Yeah, on my record as well, I agree with you 100%, it's the trapezoid and the cap. Those are the two things that I just despise about hockey nowadays.
Well, and they're new, they're
Relatively.
inventions.
But the problem is that it puts teams, okay, the good part about the cap and what they're trying to accomplish is the parity in the league, which has happened, and some of the smaller markets to have better teams for a period of time, and that has happened. Okay, fine. But the problem is that you really aren't gonna have teams that can sustain that success because of players that wanna go elsewhere for bigger money. And it's just, it doesn't reward teams for playing well year in and year out.
Nope.
And there's always that specter like, okay, it's great now, but it's gonna suck next year. Who wants to live with that? It's not fun. Other leagues, it's not the same. Other sports isn't the
I
same.
wonder why they haven't found a way to work around the cap with special bonuses and stuff like that. Sorry?
Ovechkin broke Fedorov's record just now.
We didn't mean to derail you, we were just saying wrap it up.
Okay, so we have
Oh.
breaking news.
All right, so these guys are going crazy over here. I was wondering what you guys were chatting about. So Ovechkin just broke Fedorov's record, like just now.
Just now.
Well, that's good for a podcast because we're not airing this thing for 2 days, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
2 days
breaking
ago.
news 2 days ago.
Yes, unbreaking news.
News you've already heard.
Right.
That's what this is called.
So, well, good for him. Good, congratulations for Ovechkin and.
What?
listen,
What does that say? Kovalchuk playing?
Oh, yeah, he's playing the Devils,
Yeah.
but getting booed, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame him. Listen, I'm sorry. He was a very good player who had everything going. He could have been the star, the big fish in the pond there, and could have been there for his entire career and done the honorable thing. And he just meandered away. I don't know. I don't have
Kovalchuk?
Yeah, I don't have respect for the guy.
You know, it's interesting. Some of those guys, like Radulov, did something sort of similar.
Yeah,
you know?
he sniffed Nashville.
He did. He sort of like just
Yeah,
went
came
off
in and
to the
left. Yeah.
KHL, and you know, was gone for a little while, and you know, he's not really killing it in Dallas this year. But so we want to talk about our Mount Rushmore of players. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, good. So who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Okay, obviously, he just mentioned
And they
Ovechkin.
can't be all Red Wings.
No, I said Ovechkin. He's in a Red Wing?
No, he's not.
Ovechkin and Fedorov.
Fedorov,
No
yes.
question,
Yeah,
100%.
Fedorov, absolutely.
From a Russian player perspective, gosh, that's two. You go. I'll give you two now
And you didn't say Steve Yzerman? That's good.
because he's not Russian.
I know, but he is a Red Wing, so. And they're, you think Pavel Datsuk?
I would say Pavel Datsyuk. He revolutionized the game, no question.
Pavel Datsuk is definitely on my Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore of players.
Thank you.
I think he's up there.
Are you gonna put Malkin on there?
I have to think about that. I only have one left, right? You got Ovechkin,
No, it's three.
Fedorov.
No, you have one more. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you two more. It's a different kind of run.
It's a larger Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
It's Russia, so they can have as many as they want, really.
We tell you how much to have.
That's right, you will have as many
The KGB
Russians as
will
you
let
like.
you know.
There's no limit.
Speaking of a great movie that involves Russia,
Oh, God.
Firefox.
Oh,
Clint Eastwood,
yes.
1982.
Yes, great film.
Great.
That's a great 80s reference, too.
Yes.
I can't think of a line from it, but I like that film.
Yeah, you have to watch the movie. Have you
Is
seen Firefox,
Malkin-
guys?
is Malkin on, no.
Oh, what a
this
great-
guy's
Clint
really-
Eastwood.
He's Russian.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Oh, what a movie.
But I wouldn't put Malkin on my Mount Rushmore, I'm not sure.
You must think in Russian.
I gotta think about
That's
that. I think, you know who's gonna get up onto my Mount Rushmore is Kucherov.
Okay.
He's definitely coming, I think this guy's gonna really blow it out this year. I think he's gonna hit records in a season that have
So
not
you're
been
gonna ignore any
seen.
of the other Russian five? Larionov, Fetisov, Kozlov,
Yep. Keep going.
Nabokov?
Keep naming your Russian team.
Constantino.
I'm gonna put Malkin on my Mount Rushmore. I'm going to Malkin. I'm gonna see your Fedorov and raise you a Malkin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he should be up there. The reason being, how he got into the NHL was pretty amazing. Now, we didn't name any defensemen, Russian defensemen. There are some great ones.
Some great ones.
Can we get a defenseman up onto the Mount Rushmore? Is there a Russian NHLer that worthy of the?
Well, that's
Mount
Vladimir
Rushmore?
Konstantinov, that's my number one choice, but unfortunately his career was
But
cut short.
is his career is it worthy of carving his face in stone next to Fedorov, Ovechkin, Malkin?
I mean, listen, that's a biased question for me, I would say yes, but I can't answer that question.
You can only say yes. That's all you can do. I think he is though. I think he had a great career.
Oh, he was a
Yeah, I
machine.
think I would put him up there. All right. Is there a Russian goalie we can add to the Mount Rushmore?
Nabokov.
Evgeny Nabokov.
I'm gonna say it.
But he was with the Sharks, right? Yeah.
Nabokov.
But he didn't win anything, did he win a cup?
Doesn't matter. It's fine.
What, yeah, I was gonna say, how's his
Doesn't
like, it does matter.
Doesn't
Because
matter.
you're our only Sharks fan
I know.
for like miles around,
Mm-hmm.
you know, between here and San Jose. There might be a Sharks fan in LA somewhere. Yeah, I guess I can put him up there. He's all right. I can't think of another Russian goalie that's leaping to mind at all. I could think of like 10 Finnish goalies that, for whatever
Yeah.
reason, that go up there. I don't know, Jason, you got anything else for me on Russians for the Mount Rushmore?
No,
Okay.
I mean, maybe Sergei Gonchar, but you know,
Sergei Gonchar, he was a great player. Is he Russian more worthy?
I don't think compared to the other guys necessarily,
But great player. Didn't he play for Washington?
Yeah.
Sergei Gonchar, and then ultimately wound up on, he played for the Penguins, I know that,
Mhm.
for a while.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then, I don't know where else he went to. He moved around a little bit, but he wound up a defensive coach someplace. I think that's what he's doing
Is
now.
Bobrovsky possibly on his way?
Bobrovsky? Bobrovsky's on his way. He's not having a stellar season, but he's come back
Yeah.
around a bunch. John, our producer, suggested Sergei Bobrovsky, and he is an amazing goalie.
He's a main goalie, I don't think he's necessarily.
He's not quite there yet. I wouldn't put him up on Mount Rushmore yet. He's getting
Vasilevsky,
there.
Vasilevsky's going to the first.
Vasilevsky's going.
But he's not a Mount Rushmore either. I mean,
Not there yet. They haven't done anything.
They haven't done anything.
Win a cup. Do something. This is the NHL. You gotta show us something.
Someone
Yeah,
said
Russian.
Bifiguland?
No,
Bufflin.
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 No, they didn't spell
But
it like
Bufflin's
that.
not Russian.
No, this is BYFUG.
Yeah, that's
L.I.
Bufflin.
That's Bufflin.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Dustin
Bufflin.
Bufflin?
Whoops, my bad.
Dustin
Dustin
Bufflin.
Bufflin. He plays in Winnipeg.
Vasilevsky?
Cutting
I
this
said
for
that's
podcast.
You did? Okay.
Is he Russian?
I think so. He looks black. I have no idea.
Wait, Dustin Bufflin, I thought was a Canadian guy.
What about
Yeah.
Carlson?
Oh no, Bufflin might be from the Nordic countries someplace.
Maybe.
Carlson, is he Russian? No.
Someone said Carlson, I'm like, he's Scandinavian.
Swedish.
Yeah.
I think they're screwing with you, Shaw. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, his
That's
phone,
right.
not mine. So.
Sidney Crosby, should he be up?
Right,
there?
exactly.
For sure.
Is he Russian? No.
He's a Russian third grandmother, I think it was, you know.
So let's get back to the standings, because
Yes.
we're coming up on the trade deadline. Which of these teams do you think needs to make some moves to manage themselves into the playoffs? And which team needs to make some moves to stay in the
I don't think
playoffs?
Toronto's done with defense. I think they're gonna make a play for either a defenseman or gonna make a play for special teams player, possibly like a, you know, someone's good at face-offs.
I think they killed it on face-offs. don't they?
Yeah, but listen, you know, when
You
the
mean like a
playoffs,
third line center?
third or fourth line center, and someone's gonna be able to be there to kind of win face-offs if, you know, and I think that, just personally, again, from my own, you know, experience, I know Babcock loved Luke Glendening from the Red Wings, who's one of our best face-off guys. I think he may make a play to try to trade for him somehow. But I think there's gonna be some other players that are gonna be moved. But as
Does
far as
Toronto have
Steve-
everything they need to win the cup?
they
right
need
now?
one more defenseman, at least one more defenseman,
Agreed.
and I think that's.
Was Jake Muzzin a huge addition to them?
Huge addition. I mean, listen, you're talking about a team that had one weakness and they sealed a big hole with that.
They did. Jake Muzzin's a great player.
He's a great player. He's 29 years old. He's got a lot more upside to him as far as time goes. I think it was a great move for them. It was a no-brainer. But I don't think they're done quite yet. I think that they realize that maybe that their window's kind of narrow and they gotta make a move.
Who else has to make big moves? You think Toronto needs somebody to, because you know Toronto and Tampa are meeting in the second round, I think.
Well, the way it looks like it right now, possibly, yeah, but, you know what, listen, the other teams I think that are potentially, Boston and Buffalo. Two teams that were up in the upper part of the standings earlier in the season are now kind of floundering out of a playoff spot. So, they have to make some kind of move or do something to kind of get that mojo back. Now, obviously, we had an issue in Boston with Rask had a concussion, he was out for a while. Halak was doing a majority of the lifting. He's 37 years old, kind of that seasoned backup goalie, but he's not Rask.
I think Tuukka Rask.
Rask just became the big winningest goalie in
for
Boston.
right?
But he was out for a while with a concussion, and they took a bit of a hit with that. But I don't know. I don't know what they need to do move-wise, really in Boston, to get something going, other than the team kind of playing better as a team. I don't know if there's any specific move or anything's gonna make a difference with that team.
No, I agree with you. I think that they have some serious talent. They have it stacked.
Listen,
They
Patrice
got.
Bergeron, and that's all you need to know right there.
Yeah, is he great?
He playing his 1,000th game right now.
Do what?
1,000th game today.
Bergeron.
Who is Bergeron?
Bergeron, yeah.
Played his 1,000th game today.
Got a lot of milestones, too many milestones, my head's spinning.
There are a lot of milestones. That is true. Yeah, I mean with Ovechkin and this, but and Rask becoming the winningest goalie. I mean, there's a lot of good going on in Boston. I still think that they don't have what it takes to get to the cup at this point.
Well, they make the playoffs, that's the other question. But,
I think they're in a. I don't think there is any move that they can make that's going to make them deep in the playoffs worthy. I think they're out in the first or second round.
now, the other thing that's happening in Columbus
If they
is
make
an
it.
interesting phenomenon now. It seems like there's maybe a little disarray there going on the team, that they've gone from being in second place, now they're out of playoff contention.
Because there's too much Artemi Panarin talk.
Well, Panarin and Bobrovsky, the two of them are almost as good as gone.
Really?
Yeah.
You think Bobrovsky's
Oh,
as good as gone?
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah,
Did you guys know that?
yeah. There's a lot of
You
talk
heard
about
that, too?
Bobrovsky, that he's gone, doesn't wanna stay there, or, be able to get more elsewhere. And I know a team that could use his services, that's in just below the thumb portion of the hand state.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that in Toledo, Ohio?
It's a little more north.
Oh, okay, got it.
But
All right.
all joking aside, I think that the Red Wings are gonna deal Jimmy Howard.
I agree with you.
They need to get something for him. He's gonna be a unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Get something for him. He's gonna be 35 years old. If they decide to sign him, but I think they should go after someone else like a Bobrovsky or whoever else is it that has a little more than 4 or 5 years left.
Quick is probably available also.
Perry,
What? Perry?
so only like 2 years left on that, or 1 year left on that deal.
Who? Corey Perry?
Yeah.
No, the Wings aren't
Perry's
gonna
never,
pay for
but
it.
he's not a goalie.
No, he's a goalie.
Oh.
I'm talking about from a goalie
Excuse me.
perspective.
My bad.
I mean, maybe he'll start playing goalie.
Our producer Sean's cough syrup is just kicking in about now.
You gotta help him over there. Somebody, do something.
But I think that
We're
Bobrovsky's
doctors,
gonna
we should be able to help.
Exactly. Dr. Jim, not a magician.
That's right.
I think that Bobrovsky's gonna be on the move.
Yeah.
And listen, it's a situation where, as you know, a top tier goalie is a very, very precious and rare thing in the NHL.
Well, what about Gibson? Do you think Gibson's asking for a trade? He's getting slaughtered.
Well, he has
He
no
is
defense in
getting-
front of him.
He's just getting abused all over the
But
place.
those are two good goalies, very, very top tier goalies that could be really finding new homes this year.
Gibson could move, for sure. I mean, he is just, they have hung him out to dry. Like, it was 9-6, or 9-3 in Winnipeg, and then 6-1 in Toronto. I mean, I'm like watching Ducks games like this,
Yeah.
just covering my eyes for those of you listening to the podcast, not watching it on Instagram. I mean, it's like awful. It's very painful to watch.
Well,
And I don't know, I don't know what the team in Anaheim's gonna do about any of that. I suspect nothing. I suspect they'll just get through this year and maybe they'll lose for Hughes.
so we got the trade deadline February 25th. So right now today is, when people are listening to this, it's gonna be the 7th. So figure, what, almost 3 weeks, pretty much, at this point, till the trade deadline's over. And that's gonna be huge for this season, because you have teams that are just vacillating back and forth between playoff, wild card, out of playoff, wild
Yes.
card. It's just going back and forth,
Well-
bouncing with those bottom, middle tier teams.
If you look in the West, all the
Calgary.
teams,
Calgary's running away with it.
Calgary's gone.
Calgary's
They got it.
locked. Just put
Sharks
the X
got it.
next to their name on the thing, or
Yeah.
they're locked in.
Golden Knights, got it. They're
Well, there's nobody
a
else in
wild
this
card
thing.
team.
It's like I said, the rest of the teams are garbage.
So the rest of them have 51 or 52 or 53 points.
Right.
All of them.
Right, right.
And so, like, a 2-game winning streak puts somebody into the wild card position.
Calgary, listen, if you're listening to this podcast, anybody in Calgary, do not do a thing with your team. You have no needs. You are a very well-rounded, solid team
They're killing it.
with a great goalie. Do not do anything at this point, because if you do, you're gonna mess with the chemistry, and it's gonna kill everything you have. It's been too long since you had a cup. It's been, coming up on 30 years? No, wait,
No.
30 years.
30 years?
89. Lanny McDonald played last time. 30 years since you last won your cup. It is coming up. Yeah,
30 years.
yeah, 89. I know.
I was in college then.
Me too. Sean was
Long
even
time
born.
ago. Sean wasn't even born.
I was
No.
barely born. I'm
You were,
88.
you were barely born?
Saw that one.
Nice. Pretty good.
Well, be that as it
Barely.
may,
Sean was barely born.
Calgary, I beg you guys, do not do anything.
Sean was like an 8-pound, 6-ounce hockey fan.
Right.
Uh,
We
no,
love you
I was
just the way you are,
I was a year
Calgary.
old at that time.
He was a
June of
12
'89.
pound.
Mhm.
12 pound. It's not much heavier than that now.
You were all high and mighty on the Avalanche, and what did I
You
say?
gotta give that guy a hamburger.
Oh,
Seriously.
listen, we're talking hockey, forget Sean.
I'm just trying to help.
What did I say about Colorado? They're gonna fall,
You did.
okay?
You said one
Where are
line's
they
not
now?
enough.
They're in sixth position in the Central, okay? No.
You did. You said one line is
Yeah,
not enough, and that's
it's
what they
just-
got. They got Gabriel Landeskog, they got Nathan McKinnon, and they
Right.
got Ristolainen.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it,
After that,
drops off,
whatever.
yeah.
I know. They
So-
can't do everything.
so they're
It's
done.
like trying to, by the way, I just wanna go on record right now about the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
If they keep playing Marc-Andre Fleury every single night, they will have a problem.
Well, they're gonna drive into the ground.
They are playing him every night, every night. They don't bring anybody else out. They are going to kill that guy. He is not 23 years old. Marc-Andre Fleury, I believe, is what, 34? 34 years old. You can't do every single game yourself. We all know you have to have a goalie tandem to get through the playoffs and have something happen.
And I'll tell you this, the one team that I feel the worst for, out of all the teams in the NHL, the team that I feel the absolute worst for is Edmonton. Those
Well,
fans
I
deserve
can't even.
so much better than
I
they're
can't even
getting.
imagine.
Those fans are, I think right now, the most depressed, stunned fans on the planet with that lineup and that talent they have on that team.
They're bursting with talent.
Bursting with talent, I mean,
Like Starburst is bursting with
between-
flavor.
They're the Anaheim Angels with Mike Trout, suffering with the best player in their game with nothing else around him.
yeah, I mean, it's.
It's true.
Yeah.
But they
and-
do have good players around them. They have
They
some
have good
real
players around them, right? They have real players around them. I mean, this is Draisaitl. These guys on that team,
Draisaitl is an amazing
majority of them are first round picks, high first round picks, because of all the times they're stuck in the basement, and they still can't get it together. So I don't, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen, but at some point, do you think McDavid says you trade me now?
Is Jesse Cohen correct?
Trade me right effing now? I mean, like that's, I don't want to swear, it's a family show, I think, on some level, but.
I'm not sure which family, but it's
Yeah,
a family show.
yeah, the
I
Manson
think it's a-
family maybe, I don't know.
It's an hockey family show,
Yeah.
but is Jesse Cohen of the All the Kings Men podcast correct?
No, he
In
is.
saying that the NHL fans, and the Edmonton fans specifically, have a class action lawsuit against the Edmonton Oilers front
Yeah.
office for ruining the first 4 years of Connor McDavid's
And,
career?
and it's not gonna get any better. I
I
don't
think
see
that
it.
they do.
But here's the thing, I don't see it getting better.
No.
That's the problem.
They're not doing anything to make it
You thought
better.
last year was like, okay, it's a fluke, there's something wrong, okay, they'll fix it. They're not even in playoff contention again.
No, they're not even close.
Not even close.
And not doing anything that shows they're gonna get close. This is a team that is not making the playoffs.
No. And again, and now they got a new,
Connor
they got a new coach.
McDavid.
Yeah, they got a new coach in, he's a great coach. I think it was just too late for that team. They were already, sunk it, earlier on.
Shahab he's got a question
Question.
from the audience about the
Super Bowl halftime thoughts. Really?
What
Who
was?
wants to know
did
that?
You, did you? I
Don't
have
point
only
at
one
your
thing.
phone.
Listen, I
Oh,
only
Sean
have,
wants to know that?
I only have one thing to say about the Super Bowl halftime show.
Super
One
Time
thing.
Half Bowl Show?
The Super Time Half Bowl show.
Yes. I was watching the Puppy Bowl,
That's
so.
not what it's called. It's called the Super Bowl halftime show.
Okay,
That's what it's called.
all right.
I have only one thing to say about it.
Yeah.
I gotta get to the gym. That's it.
Jay, okay. let
I
me-
gotta get to the gym.
Okay, I know, I understand, but here's the thing.
It's ridiculous.
You could literally.
Who does that guy think he is?
I'll
Taking his
tell-
shirt off like that.
Okay, number one, we saw the
What is
wrong,
that?
okay, we saw the wrong kind of nipple on this, on the
Totally.
halftime show.
That was not a wardrobe malfunction. I don't think so.
But people brought
It was
up-
on purpose.
but people also
That was to
brought-
make you and I feel bad. That's what it was for.
Don't let me in with you.
Listen, I felt like.
Don't drag me down.
I went right out to the garage and
I
started.
like
working
me, I'm okay with
out.
where
I
I
am
am.
not at all.
I was God made, sir. That's from Spinal Tap for you, people that didn't realize.
That was good. And-
Thank you.
And an eighties movie reference.
Yes. No, people were saying, okay, Janet Jackson showed her nipple on there, which I personally think was planned, but that's just me. Why is it different that a guy shows his nipple on the show? I'm just saying, a nipple's a nipple.
I don't care about his nipples. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I'm just saying, but I'm
it's
saying a
shape.
nipple on is a show.
You know who's watching the Super Bowl?
Who?
There's a lot of guys that like to sit around, drink beer,
Right.
and watch.
But a
and
nipple
watch
is a
football.
nipple is a nipple. That's it.
I'm not-
Number two.
I don't even care about nipples.
Okay, well, it's your business. What do you mean you don't care about nipples?
Wait, I do care about nipples.
Yes, thank you.
I got you.
Okay.
I have to make some, actually, for a patient very soon.
Or tattoo someone there.
I'm gonna have to make the nipples and then tattoo them, that's what
Yes.
we do. And as I said last night, those are
Stop right
nice.
there. Tattooing? Expand on that.
Tattooing the nipples.
Yeah.
When you have a mastectomy.
Don't you watch Botched?
No.
All right, so Sean, we're gonna have to get you a little education from Botched, but when you lose your breast for breast cancer,
Right.
the nipples go with it because the nipple has tissue in it that can also be cancerous.
The ducts in there.
So,
yes.
so the whole thing goes, and you have to, after you reconstruct you expand the skin and put in a permanent prosthetic, and you can make some really nice looking breasts out of skin and great implants or out of muscle flaps or whatever you want. And, I sound a little bit like Bob Ross right there, like, just pick your favorite one, whatever you want.
There you
You
go.
can use a VIP flap,
But
or
here's
just go ahead and bring a Letitia.
But all joking
It's all up
aside,
to you.
I'll just say, the fact that you guys and women, as surgeons, are able to give women back a feeling of being a woman and feeling good about themselves the way you do is absolutely just beyond extraordinary.
The
It really is.
technology is through the roof.
It's not just
awesome.
technology, it's the way you do
Yeah, it's
you do this.
incredible.
That I mean, that's one of the most inspiring things I find about medicine. And some people say, oh, oh, it's plastic surgery, blah, blah. That to me, I think is one of the most inspiring things about it, because when you see that, and I know women that have had mastectomies, be it because of the BRCA gene having genetic linkage or having actual cancer, and the fact that you can actually get breasts back and feel that way, I think is remarkable. It really is, and it wasn't something that could even be done to that degree and that well 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's come so far.
But they do, but Sean, to make you, they do tattoo an actual nipple on there, and it looks very real.
See, and who's doing this tattooing? Because I imagine
tattoo
like
artist.
Derek from Huntington Beach Tattoos just coming up in here and drawing really good nipples. Is that really what's happening, or are you guys doing this tattooing? Who's doing this tattooing?
Can Derek do
Well, there are medical tattoo artists
Yes.
that but making the nipple
We learn
itself
something
is
new every
actually
day.
really cool.
3D
Could I,
tattooing too.
yeah, could I demo? We have in our podcast room today, Catherine, you can come on for a second and talk about this. We have Dr. Catherine Rose, who is interviewing for our fellowship today, and she is not only a plastic surgery resident from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, but she was also the manager of her high school hockey team. And so she wanted to sit in on the Dr. Hockey podcast as part of the interview. She's got it. She knows how to try to get.
Let's give her a warm welcome.
She wants to get
Yeah.
This is somebody who wants this fellowship. I can tell you right now. But let's talk about it, because one of the things of making there is a 3D nipple tattoo. So tell us how they do that.
So the 3D nipple tattoo, a medical tattoo artist could make either just the areola or the areola and the nipple, depending on what the patient has elected to undergo.
You lost them at areola. Did you see
Sorry.
their faces? They were like, I don't even know what that is.
So-
It's around here anyway.
So the
Where are we-
nipple part, right, in our medical terms, the nipple is just that little
That's good.
3D pointing part, and the areola is the circle around it.
Hold on, you
So-
guys, I want a picture of that. Because that was awesome. You guys went like this. That was too cool. That was good.
Do we act
Got it.
stupid or not? Oh, okay.
All right, no, that was good. And then
Come again?
what about doing like a flap?
Right.
Actually create the skin nipple, which is what I was talking
So
about.
for
And then
the
we're gonna get back to-
flap-
we'll get back to.
The hockey stuff.
Yeah, we'll get back to Adam's nipples in a
Yeah,
second.
well,
Don't
maybe
worry,
we
we're
can
not
talk
done.
about hockey and 3D tattoos.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we have a crossover here.
There it is, for sure. No
But
question.
for the nipple, the actual papule, the 3D part, you can do a skin flap where you cut the skin and rearrange it in a slight way to give it that projection, and then a tattoo artist can come in and tattoo the darkened circle, the areola complex around it. Otherwise, people can
That's
just
right.
get the whole thing tattooed, and the artists are very good in the fact that they can make it, when you look at it, look like it's 3D, even though it's only 2D.
Right,
Wow.
it's flat on the skin flap that you've reconstructed the breast with, because there will be an implant
Yeah.
behind the skin flap, or it'll be a muscle flap where we take the belly fat and bring it up to the chest and make a breast out of it. So there's a lot of choices, as I said. While I was Bob
Even
Rossing.
sometimes a butt.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we
can
do.
use your own tissue,
Yeah,
or
we
we
use
can use fake stuff.
S-gap flap, which is from your butt. That works very well too. You want to have a big butt if you want a big breast.
Or the
Not
banana
super neat.
roll, you know.
You will not be
right
getting a
under-
breast shot. Like I said, 8 pounds, 6 ounce. Sean Foster.
Yeah, he's an implant candidate.
You're getting implants. Okay, that's for you. But I'm gonna do a
Anything for
quick
the show.
demo on how the flap happens, because people don't understand how you can take flat skin and make a nipple out of it. So you wanna watch this? I'm gonna show you how it's done. I don't think I can do the mic while I'm doing this, but I'll show you.
It's a visual, it's not really gonna play well on the video.
Okay, well you have to,
Do it on Jason.
yeah,
Yeah.
do what?
Do it on him.
How
I
are you
can't
gonna
do
do
it
this
on-
with like your arms?
like with my arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so-
Okay,
Here, let me
it's
see
like
if
a
I
big
can do
hug.
it. Right, so exactly, it's like a big hug. So what you do to do this is you have to imagine that it's a flat table. So if the table's flat and you cut a flap like this, you cut arms and a head, and then you were to like pick it up off of that flat table, and this part would close as a line, so there'd be a scar right here. Now you have all this tissue flapping in the breeze. And then you can put one flap low, one flap high, and then the head goes in. You see how I've made a cylinder, and that's how you make a nipple out of skin. And then you have actually a projected nipple, and you tattoo around it, and that's how we do it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that the modified star flap. Pretty soon, I think I'd probably just call it a J body flap soon, because that's how I did it.
So back to the Super Bowl.
All right, guys.
So I
Maybe his nipples were tattooed.
Maybe.
could have been.
You think that, did you think that his nipples were tattooed?
I didn't study that long. I actually kind of walked out of the room when that came out, when
Oh, he's
that
still
happened.
He was still.
When he took his shirt off type of thing, I just kind of walked out of the room
Don't
for a while.
lie.
But,
It's a damn lie.
I went to the-
I pushed
I went to
pause.
the gym.
No,
I did. I was like, son of a bitch. This guy's making me look bad.
yeah, no, I was actually kind of watching in and out. I wasn't
Sorry.
really paying attention to
What
much.
does he
But,
think he is? Who talked to him about this?
but
This
like, I was
cool.
gonna say,
It's a
Jay,
Super Bowl.
listen, you could be in the gym for the next 14 years every day and live there, and you're not gonna look like him.
I
So
would.
Don't let
High
him,
def lipo?
don't let seeing that show
That's right.
motivate you more to go to the gym.
That's
It's not
High
gonna
def
happen.
lipo, exactly. Now, that's true. There is high def lipo. That could do that,
Well, okay.
which I did.
I'm glad the
Jason,
NHL doesn't do those kind of shows during in between periods. Can you imagine that?
Well, in Nashville, they usually have some music,
Well,
which is nice.
what's the other question, Shab? What hockey player would you get tattooed on you?
And where?
3D tattooed.
Okay,
And
okay, well, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm getting on my back, I'm gonna get Gordie Howe,
Good
Steve
choice.
Yzerman,
Yeah.
Sergei Fedorov,
Yeah.
Like
and,
their faces in the clouds,
Like
is
a
that?
tramp
yeah, and I would actually, I
Not
take
so
that back.
bad,
I would do
Like a tramp
Sergei,
stamp?
I would do Sergei Fedorov, Yzerman, and then I would do the production line underneath it. You know, Sid Abel.
Yeah,
Gordie
I
Howe.
got you.
And that would be probably, if I had to do it, but I don't have any tattoos, and I don't really want any, but
Come on, you want a winged wheel.
I thought about it.
I bet you did.
I have looked into it, I have researched it, I have considered it, but I have not done it.
Right on the best breastplate.
No, I just wouldn't, no, I,
Right next to home.
Right on the.
but anyway,
Yeah.
so
There you go.
getting back to hockey
Jason,
here.
come on.
Getting back to hockey here, so your brothers have yelled at us again. Winnipeg hasn't made in the shade,
Made
at
the
least as far
shade.
as the division and playoffs.
Amazing.
Nashville, Dallas is now coming out strong,
Dallas
which is
looks
good
like
to
they're gonna
see.
be there.
Okay, good for them. Again, it drops off Minnesota, Colorado, St. Louis, Chicago. So, you know, the West I think is a little more, the West I think is a little more solidified, if you will, than the East. I think there's a little, I personally think there's a little more movement going on in the East than the West. And it's mostly because I think the teams in the West aren't as good
Nope.
as the top teams.
Totally agree.
There was a top 3 or 4 teams in each division are way better than the bottom 4 teams, as opposed to the East, where there's more of a mix in that middle.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the East has some amazing teams. I mean, we haven't even talked about Washington and Pittsburgh, and they're doing great, right behind the Islanders and.
Pittsburgh's been a surprise. They've gone from
They
wild
have.
card to second place, now they're, they've been out, so who knows where they're gonna finish?
It just depends if they get hot towards the end, that's all. I mean, they
They
did
made a
make
trade.
a good trade.
Yeah, tell us about the trade for your.
Oh, really? Should I tell you about the suggested trade of Brassard for a winning defenseman, which
You
they
said that a
got?
while
It was
ago.
great.
Yeah.
I know, I did say it a lot. But they did make that move, and I thought that was great. I mean, Brassard, by the way, good for Brassard because he goes to Florida and he's scoring up a storm. And he couldn't do anything on the Penguins.
It happens.
He was like constipated for goal scoring on the Penguins.
Riley Shagan got traded too.
Listen, this is the Dr. Hockey podcast. If you don't like it, you gotta tune out. I mean, constipation is a problem.
So Riley Shagan got traded as well.
Yes.
And as you know, before he went to
He's a
Pittsburgh.
good player, by the way.
He's a good player, but as you know, before he went to Pittsburgh, when he was last year with the Wings, he scored 1 goal in his final game of the season.
Yeah.
So, something happened that was more mental than anything else. He's a very good player, but I don't think he's found his place yet. I don't think he's found his niche, and maybe he will in Florida. I don't know.
I wanna just touch on one more player, and then we do have to wrap it up.
You gonna
Because
touch a
it's
player?
to do. I don't want, I didn't say, I wanna touch on
Oh.
another player,
Okay.
Jason. I mean.
Do you touch a player named Jason?
No,
Okay.
definitely not. No. And listen, Nylander signed a
Yes.
very large contract.
Yes.
Can we talk about his stats since that contract was signed?
Tell me about his
Anybody?
stats, Jay.
They're not good. Do you know how many goals he scored?
Tell me.
I think he got one. Did he get
Yesterday.
0?
Yesterday.
One, he got one
Yesterday,
yesterday.
yeah.
One goal.
When the cap went into place, and I said this from day one,
One.
they have to reward mediocrity with some of these players to keep them on their team. Why some of them keep them, I don't know, but they reward mediocrity with these contracts, and these contracts for players that are mid-tier, mid to lower tier, that are getting unbelievable money.
I have a theory about Nylander, though,
What?
that he was in Sweden too long, he got seasonal depression.
I don't know about that, but maybe it's just,
You didn't believe me.
well, I don't know if that's necessarily,
I'm sure that's what happened, actually.
maybe it's something hormonal.
I
I
think
don't
you just
know.
need some SSRIs to be fine.
Well, I listen, aside from your curbside diagnoses here, I think that the issue is that maybe he was just, listen, when
One goal?
But listen, when players leave the NHL, they go to Europe, go to Russia, it's a different game.
That's right,
It's a
and it
slower
changes.
game, it's much
Way
more wide
slower.
open, the rink itself is bigger. There's much less checking, it's much less physical. So you come then to back to the league, where you're now being checked, guys are on top of you before you know it, you can't get your timing back right away, and sometimes at all. That's just what happens. That's what's happening to Kovalchuk. That's what's happened to Radulov before he left
That's right.
again, whatever else.
That's right.
This is what happens to most of these players. Now, there's been a rumor, and I saw in the Detroit News, that they're talking that Datsuk's agent said when his contract is up at the end of this season, he is very serious about coming back to the NHL and wants to come back to finish his career in Detroit.
What?
Now, I read that about 2 weeks ago.
Are
I
you sure that
didn't
wasn't a
see-
dream you had last night?
Positive,
You sure?
positive.
You can wake up and like, oh, maybe Datsuk's coming back to
No,
Detroit.
I read it in Detroit
All right.
News. I will find the article for you.
Was
His
that before you
agent,
had the text from Iserman? Come on,
no,
that doesn't
his,
sound real.
his agent was on record as saying that, but they said they have to evaluate things at the end of the season for the KHL,
All right.
which I don't know when that season ends. And he's already out of contract. They already, with
That would be
Arizona.
Sweet.
He'll be 41, I think. Maybe.
Oh, maybe not that sweet then.
Oh no, he even said
Well,
he's
eventually
not
it's
as.
gotta be 41.
They said Datsuk may be a little bit slower, but his stick handling skills and his
But his
ability
hockey
to get
IQ.
on defense are second to none.
Well, he's one of the best two-way players ever.
Yeah,
I mean, for sure.
he's on
All right.
my Mount Rushmore.
I wanna go back to Nylander for one more second.
Go.
If I paid you $5 million a year, don't you think you could score more than one goal? And I know you don't even play hockey.
Wait, no, I do
Jason,
play.
all
I'm
you
not-
gotta do is go out in the NHL. If I said to you, if I'm gonna give you, all you do is go out
I'm
there and
literally
skate.
Happy Gilmore.
I'm gonna give you $5 million if you can score me 2 goals in, how many games has he played? Probably, what, 18 games I think now? 14?
Okay, let me put it this way.
2 goals, 14 games,
If I did,
$5 million. You
if,
gonna do
if I
it?
did, it'd be like one of those commercials I see where they show like the teams letting some kid get a goal or a touchdown or something like that. That would be like me out there.
Like Make-A-Wish.
It'd be like Make-A-Wish for me, not to put down Make-A-Wish, I think it's a phenomenal
it's my
organization.
favorite charity. I
But
love
that
it.
will be me out there being, yeah, you have to cut the shot. You
I
have to
get
cut the shot.
I do.
My point
I love
is,
Make-A-Wish.
I would need the players to just part ways and let me get in the score,
Okay.
score a goal.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll cut the Make-A-Wish thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that
Thank
won't
you.
show up
Yeah,
in there.
cut it. You better cut it. Yeah.
It's
you know,
even more gold that you wanna cut it.
there might be a cut reel that Sean's saving to kind of hold us, blackmail us at some point.
It's not blackmail, it's true, it's hard though.
But I'm not saying to make fun, I'm just simply saying that it would be like that, where they would have someone out there that they knew they had to kind of treat special, and that's me.
It's getting worse.
I love you, dude.
Is it getting worse? Stop talking. You just have to stop now. It's too funny. All right, well, I think that's it for today. Next week, what are we doing next week? I'm trying to get Blue in next week. I mean, I wanted to get him and Friesen this week to chat a little
Some
bit about.
regular Dr. Hockey podcast cronies will be.
Yeah, next
making
week,
an
well,
appearance.
Friesen, we haven't had Friesen on yet, and he's got a lot of it. You know him?
Yeah, from the Sharks.
Yeah. So he's a very interesting guy.
We can lure in Blue over here with some drinks.
He does want dinner, that's for sure. He didn't say anything about a beer, but I'm
What does he
sure
want
that'll
for
be-
dinner? What's his dinner order?
I think we're gonna go to Craig's, actually, if we're gonna go.
Where?
Craig's, over on Melrose.
Oh, I'll
Yeah,
be
you-
asleep by then.
No, that's true. Yeah, you gotta get to bed. You're 9 o'clock bedtime.
Absolutely, that's late for me.
Yeah, so no dinner for you, but we'll take Blue and Freeze out for dinner.
No soup for you.
Anyway, so we're trying to get him in for next week, and then I'm still very, very adamant to get Sean Pronger and you in the same room, because I think it would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I'd love to.
He's awesome, and be great, so we're
Oh,
trying.
by the way, I almost went to Diane Franklin, one of our previous guests on, did the Hollywood show autograph signing with other celebrities this past weekend.
Awesome.
And
One
I
of the
was all,
princesses from Bill and Ted's
Yep.
Excellent Adventure.
I was all set to go.
Also a guest of the Dr. Hockey Podcast.
That's what I said. Just
That's
2
right.
seconds.
Gotcha.
I was all set to go, but it was pouring rain out, and I wanted to go. I will go in June when they're back here in town for that show again, and hopefully Diane will be there. But she posted a picture that Curtis Armstrong, AKA Booger, made a special guest appearance.
No
there with me.
way.
And I am so bummed because he's from Detroit.
That's right.
And I would have loved to have
hilarious.
talked to him, but I love Curtis
And
Armstrong.
hilarious.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
is hysterical.
All right, well, I guess we're gonna have to just,
I'm
Catch
just
it on
waiting for
Fruits
the,
and
I'm waiting for the trade deadline, and I will kick into high gear as far as my interest level, because I'm gonna be dying to see where some of these players go.
I think the trade deadline's gonna be a big disappointment, but, we'll see.
I'm not betting you anymore, I already have a bet this year.
I know, I think that one's gonna go down.
Poised to lose.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we still gotta go to Mastro's, so don't worry. All right, well, and by the way, I'm trying to move that to Solani Steakhouse in Laguna Beach.
Okay.
Because I think that would be fun to take the Dr. Hockey crew down to Solani's and do not only have dinner, but do the show there.
Is it true that
Are you guys in?
that he'll come out and do a special slap shot of a piece of steak into your mouth, is that?
I have, yes, that's true.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
I've had that, actually, it's good. It's called the Solani Slapstick. I don't think that's gonna happen. But anyway,
You
we
cut
will,
that out, Sean?
It's something different.
I would not cut that out. All right, get rid of that. Anyway, I guess that's it. This is the Dr. Hockey Podcast, signing off.